maintenant, Ryan Wedding.
From competing in the Olympics to heading up a murderous cocaine smuggling operation,
Wedding is wanted by the FBI, accused of running a transnational drug trafficking network.
Investigators will be pressing those arrested for any information on Wedding's whereabouts.
This guy couldn't look more Canadian if he tried. Back in the 2002 Winter Olympics, Ryan Wedding was the embodiment of everything Canada, embracing the cold, loving the snow, and proudly wearing the red and white of Team Canada. Fast forward to today, and the once clean-cut Olympian has taken an astonishing turn. Instead of carving through snow on a snowboard, he's now accused of trafficking a very different kind of powder, cocaine. His transformation is jaw-dropping. According to U.S. authorities, Ryan has gone from Olympic athlete to the alleged leader of a billion-dollar drug empire, protected by Mexico's notorious Sinaloa cartel and backed by ruthless hitmen who left a bloody trail behind them. Just this week, the U.S. Department of Justice named him one of their most wanted fugitives, offering a $50,000 reward for his capture. Here's the scoop. Prosecutors say Wedding is running a massive cocaine operation that spans the globe. The charges were revealed at a major press conference in Los Angeles on October 17, 2024, where officials unveiled the Ryan Wedding syndicate and arrested 16 men allegedly involved in the operation. The crew is said to move 60 tons of cocaine each year, roughly 120,000 pounds, or almost 55,000 kilograms. Breaking it down, that's about 150 kilograms a day, more than you'd ever earn from being an Olympic athlete on a cereal box. The operation allegedly works like this. Wedding relocated to Mexico, where he arranged for shipments of cocaine from Colombia to be smuggled into the U.S. The drugs were then hidden in various homes around Los Angeles, loaded onto trucks, and transported up to Canada. Prosecutors claim that at 43 years old and standing at 6'8", Wedding was the mastermind behind it all. Born in snowy Thunder Bay, Canada, Ryan grew up surrounded by powder. His grandparents even ran a ski hill, and it's no surprise he found his passion for snowboarding there. He later moved to the West Coast and joined Canada's national snowboard team in 1995. His big break came in the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, where he competed in the men's parallel giant slalom. However, his performance wasn't spectacular, finishing 24th out of 32. After that, things started to unravel. In 2008, Wedding made headlines for a very different reason. He was arrested in California for attempting to buy 24 kilos of cocaine from an undercover FBI agent, just days after flying in from Vancouver. He was caught in a San Diego hotel. In court, he expressed regret, saying, "I guess I lost my way." However, prison didn't seem to straighten him out, and by 2015, he was linked to another massive cocaine smuggling operation, this time based in Montreal. This case was even more shocking, with connections to a Canadian Air Force employee who had access to restricted areas at a military base, and a member of the Coast Guard who served aboard a patrol vessel. Ryan Wedding's story is wild. One minute he's on top of the world as an Olympic athlete, and the next, he's allegedly at the helm of a drug empire. Authorities claim he's living large but dangerous in Mexico, where he reportedly has strong ties to the Sinaloa cartel, thanks to his spouse. And Wedding has no shortage of aliases, minus 18 in total, including fake identities like Jess King, dramatic nicknames like Giant Public Enemy, and even some that sound like encrypted app usernames, such as Threa. His alleged partner in crime, Andrew Clark, a 34-year-old from Toronto who followed Wedding to Mexico, also goes by numerous aliases, including the Dictator and El Nino, which means the problem child. Together, prosecutors say they ran the show, calling the shots for the drug syndicate. But their criminal enterprise didn't stop at smuggling. Authorities claim the pair is tied to 4 murders and 1 attempted murder, all connected to conflicts in the criminal underworld. One high-profile case made headlines last year when a husband and wife were shot and killed in their Toronto area home, leaving their young daughter to survive a brutal attack. She was shot 13 times, but somehow survived. Cops say this hit was ordered by Wedding over a stolen drug shipment, but the hitman targeted the wrong people. Another murder took place on April 1st in Niagara Falls, a chilling execution-style killing allegedly ordered by Clark and carried out by a man known as Mr. Perfect, whose real name is Malik Damon Cunningham. Cunningham was arrested in Toronto this week, bringing the total body count in this saga to 4. From Olympic dreams to alleged drug kingpin, Ryan Wedding's life has taken a dark and dangerous turn. Authorities are closing in, and if their case holds up, his once snow-covered empire may finally be coming to an end. Prosecutors say the entire operation was run by Ryan Wedding and Andrew Clark, who were the masterminds giving orders from Mexico. Their transportation hub was managed in Canada by Hardeep Diamond Rat and Git Farmer Singh, both from Brampton, Ontario. The stash houses in Los Angeles were overseen by a trio who moved between locations to prepare and gather shipments as needed. Once everything was set, the drugs were handed off to drivers like Russian-born Rekim Iberjov and John Gendbanog, who took care of cross-border runs. To maintain security, the gang used an old yet clever system, essentially criminal two-factor authentication. Before any transaction, a photo of a specific banknote, complete with its serial number, was sent to the next person in the chain. When they met in person, the recipient had to produce the exact bill to prove their legitimacy. These codes, or tokens, acted as keys to unlocking each step of the operation. However, the FBI had other plans. Early this year, they planted a confidential informant deep within this token-based system. The informant worked their way into the gang's network, giving the FBI access to encrypted chats and real-time plans. By the time Wedding and his crew realized what was happening, it was already game over. If this sounds familiar, it's because this playbook has been used before to take down other smuggling rings. Same tactics, same outcome. This is part of a larger pattern of stings, like Operation Dead Hand, which took down another major cartel with the help of a secret informant. In fact, the same informant might have been behind both operations, efficiently dismantling cartels one by one. Speaking of surprises, Ryan Wedding isn't the only unexpected figure involved in this operation. The FBI's investigation reached all the way to the other side of the U.S., where agents raided a luxury waterfront mansion in Miami, Florida. The commotion was so loud it woke up neighbors and brought local news crews to the scene just a day before the bust was officially announced. And here's a fun fact. The mansion once belonged to DJ Khaled. It's a seriously palatial place, but the feds weren't after the famous DJ. They were targeting another Canadian, Nahim George Vanilla, a music producer who had been living in Florida for years. On top of producing beats, Vanilla owned a trendy South Beach restaurant. But according to authorities, Vanilla was involved in something much darker behind the scenes. He was allegedly acting as a distributor for Wedding and Clark, who gave him 12 kilos of cocaine. Vanilla paid for 7 kilos up front, but hesitated on paying the rest. In response, Wedding and Clark allegedly escalated the situation, threatening to kill Vanilla's mother. This apparently got his attention, and Vanilla reportedly arranged to send a driver to Laval, Quebec, to deliver 20 kilos of meth as a trade for the remaining 3 kilos of cocaine he owed. The FBI clearly had some fun with this case, naming their operation after Wedding's old Olympic event, Operation Giant Slalom. Someone even created a cheeky logo depicting Wedding at the finish line of a ski race. It's a humorous touch, but despite the theatrics, Wedding is still on the run and hasn't been caught yet. It's important to note, though, that an indictment is just a set of allegations. None of the accused have had their day in court yet, so this story is far from over. Despite the flashy name and drama, Operation Giant Slalom wasn't just about bringing down Wedding and his crew. It was about dismantling a massive, interconnected web of criminal operations. The FBI didn't stumble upon this case overnight. Years of surveillance, undercover work, and carefully placed informants led to the eventual unraveling of this syndicate. Authorities tracked how money flowed, how drugs were transported, and how trust was maintained in a treacherous underworld where betrayal often ends in bloodshed. One of the most fascinating parts of the case is how technology played a role in both concealing and exposing the operation. The crew heavily relied on encrypted apps like 3A to maintain secrecy, but it was also through these technologies that the FBI was able to infiltrate their network and gather crucial evidence. The members of the syndicate were careful to keep their conversations hidden from prying eyes, or so they thought. They relied on a meticulous token system, using banknotes with specific serial numbers to authenticate each step in their drug deals. But despite their precision, their efforts weren't foolproof. Once the FBI infiltrated the group through a confidential source, every encrypted chat and carefully planned exchange turned into evidence against them. The network's reach was vast, stretching from Colombia to Mexico, the United States, and Canada. But the operation wasn't just about selling drugs. It was a finely tuned logistical machine, moving large quantities of cocaine, methamphetamine, and cash across borders. To make this happen, the syndicate recruited people at every level: stash house operators in Los Angeles, truck drivers hauling contraband into Canada, and enforcers who handled disputes with terrifying violence. Malik Damon Cunningham, aka Mr. Perfect, is one such enforcer, allegedly carrying out an execution ordered by Andrew Clark in Niagara Falls. Prosecutors argue that the violence tied to this group rivaled that of any major cartel. These weren't just business disputes. One murder stemmed from a horrific case of mistaken identity, where innocent people were killed in a bungled revenge attempt over a stolen shipment. It's almost surreal to imagine that Ryan Wedding, once a proud representative of Canada at the Olympics, is now accused of being at the center of such chaos. The man who once raced down snowy slopes in front of cheering crowds is now accused of running a criminal empire from the shadows. His transformation from Olympic snowboarder to alleged drug lord is not only shocking, but it feels like something out of a Hollywood crime thriller. Yet, Wedding's story is a powerful reminder of how even the most promising lives can take unexpected dark turns. Those who knew him during his snowboarding days describe him as driven, competitive, and fiercely focused. But something clearly changed. His 2008 arrest for attempting to buy 24 kilos of cocaine could have been his wake-up call, a chance to turn things around. Instead, it seemed to serve as a stepping stone deeper into the criminal world. The FBI's dramatic raid in Miami, which led to the flashy arrests of Nahim George Bonilla and others, was just the beginning. Now comes the slow grind of the justice system. Prosecutors will attempt to prove their case, slowly unraveling the full scope of the operation and holding those involved accountable. Meanwhile, the defendants will have their chance to tell their side of the story. But beyond the courtroom battles and shocking headlines, this case raises deeper questions about ambition, identity, and the choices people make. How does someone like Ryan Wedding go from being a national sports hero to an alleged criminal mastermind? Is it greed, desperation, or something deeper? Some might argue that his competitive nature, the very drive that made him an Olympian, contributed to his alleged rise in the drug world. After all, running a billion-dollar criminal enterprise requires strategy, discipline, and a high tolerance for risk. But this is also a world that chews people up and spits them out. Constant paranoia, betrayal, and violence. It's a far cry from the camaraderie and discipline of professional sports. For others involved, like Bonilla, the story is equally complex. Bonilla wasn't just a drug distributor. He was also a music producer and restaurant owner with legitimate avenues for success. Why risk everything to work with people like Wedding and Clark? And when threats of violence were used to control him, with his mother's life allegedly on the line, did he even have a choice? Then there are the victims, like the innocent couple murdered in Toronto, their young daughter surviving a brutal attack. If these allegations prove true, those victims will never get the justice they deserve. The ripple effects of such violence extend far beyond the direct victims, scarred families. communities, and entire cities. At the heart of this case lies a strange irony. Wedding and his crew used the same precision and coordination that made him successful on the world stage to run their criminal empire. They operated like athletes, driven by performance, results, and the desire to stay ahead of the competition. But this game is unforgiving, and unlike a poor performance in the Olympics, there's no second chance to come back and try again. For now, the FBI and prosecutors seem confident they've built a solid case. The arrests, the seized drugs, the intercepted messages, together, they paint a damning picture. But until the trial concludes, these remain just allegations. Wedding, Clark, Vanilla, and the others will have their day in court, and perhaps that will provide a clearer picture of what really happened. As this chapter in Ryan Wedding's story unfolds, one thing is certain: it will be remembered for years to come, not only for its audacity, but also for the troubling questions it raises about the human spirit and the choices we make in the face of adversity. Whether this marks the end of Wedding's journey or another twist in his extraordinary life, only time will tell.